Texans fall to the Raiders, but did they really lose this weekend? Landry Locker here. Subscribe to the show if you haven't. If you're new, I'm Landry Locker, Sports Radio 610 in the loop. I think it's up there somewhere. I always get confused when I'm pointing at stuff. But the Texans lose 38-20 to the Raiders. I don't think too many people are surprised by that result, but it might have been, and a case can be made, this might have been the most successful weekend that the Texans have had this season. Carolina wins a game unexpected. They beat the ghost of Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So the team that we thought was going to be the unquestioned team with the number 1 overall pick, they lose. The Browns lose again. If the draft began today, the Texans would have the number 1 and number 5 overall pick. Or number 2 and number 5 overall pick. How about that? That's right up my alley. Sign me up for that. And if you're looking at this and you are in the they need to lose category or they need to lose camp, with this front seven, they're not going to win too many games. And I got to wonder, in watching this ball club and watching teams around the league and looking at where the Texans are in their process, Casario's process, is there a chance that the Houston Texans don't draft a quarterback in the next draft? If Davis Mills plays like this, let's say Davis Mills is okay. I said he was great today on the air. Maybe I'm grading on a curve, but over 300 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, interceptions, some of the throws that he made early in that game. I thought Davis Mills was good. I thought he was really, really good. Great by his standards and the standards he's laid out. But if he plays like this, and let's say he plays similar to how he did at the end of last season and this year, if you have the number 2 overall pick, let's just say the Texans have the number 2 overall pick. And let's say Detroit, although Detroit, they got the Chicago Bears twice, and they got the Carolina Panthers once. So the Lions got very winnable games. The Lions right now would have the number 1 overall pick. They got some very winnable games. So let's pretend that the Texans are drafted number 1 or number 2, and CJ Stroud goes to Detroit. Or let's say the Texans are at the very top, and they have to decide between Will Anderson or Bryce Young. Which one of those would have the biggest impact? Because there's going to be question marks about any of these quarterbacks. Any of these quarterbacks, there are going to be question marks. But you hear people talk about Will Anderson, you hear people talk about Jalen Carter, and there don't seem to be too many question marks there. So would it be crazy to roll with Davis Mills for another year? The Jets have lost 2 games right now. The New York Jets. Shout out to Jake Assman. If you want some Jet stuff, Jake Assman's the best. He's one of my YouTube mentors. He is a beast in this game. But if you're the Jets and you look at the Jets, if you're the Texans and you look at the Jets, they're not winning games because of Zach Wilson. They're winning games because of their running backs. They just lost Breece Hall, though, so that might change, and they might need Zach Wilson to step up. But they've been winning games because their running back duo of Michael Carter and Breece Hall are doing their thing, and their defense, specifically Quinnen Williams, top 5 pick, their defense is playing really well. So maybe the Texans want to build that way, and then they can try to figure something out. Because I'll tell you this, I'm never going to be guilty of thinking that Davis Mills is a franchise quarterback, and I don't believe you can win a Super Bowl with Davis Mills at quarterback. But you have a better chance of winning a Super Bowl with Davis Mills at quarterback than you do with this front seven. Trent Dilfer's been to a Super Bowl. Kerry Collins went to a Super Bowl. Jimmy Garoppolo, they went to Super Bowls. I don't think there's ever been a front seven this bad that's gone to a Super Bowl. Matter of fact, I know. At least not in my lifetime. I'm over 30 years old. You name every Super Bowl team, they have a better front seven than this. So where is the biggest need? And that's why I asked the question in the description of this, and I asked the question today on the air. should the Texans be looking front seven? Does Davis Mills actually benefit from the Texans' biggest weakness in a crazy way? Because a lot of times when teams get aggressive and they get aggressive to go get a quarterback, it's because they believe they're a quarterback away. Rest in peace to Bob McNair. In 2016, when the Texans aggressively went and got Brock Osweiler, it was because they felt they were a quarterback away. And they probably were. They just didn't pick the right quarterback. And they probably wouldn't have been as aggressive and reckless had they not felt that they're a quarterback away. But they felt that they had their team in place, their roster was built, so they aggressively went and got a quarterback. Is it in Nick Caserio's best interest to aggressively go get the quarterback when you're not going to win games in other areas, specifically the front seven? I like Bryce Young. There's more question marks about Bryce Young than there is Will Anderson. Will Levis is intriguing. So is Jalen Carter. Outside of health, there's not a lot of questions there. There's going to be a lot of other names that emerge as the draft comes. So in a strange way, maybe the biggest weakness is something that Davis Mills benefits from. Other thoughts from the game. Nico Collins, before he went down, I think I'm going to keep hammering this home because people who look at the stats aren't going to think that Nico Collins is having a really good year, but Nico Collins has improved significantly. Stats aren't doing justice to Nico Collins, but Nico Collins has improved significantly. And it would be really nice if Brevin Jordan could get on board there. If Brevin Jordan can make the improvements that Nico Collins has made, it would be nice. I'm not going to bet on Nico Collins being a great number 2 receiver in the league, but I'm not going to bet against it. I'm not going to dismiss it. And I feel 100% comfortable in saying that Nico Collins is going to be a contributor in some way, shape, or form in a couple years when hopefully Nick Caserio has righted the ship somewhat. I can say that. I don't know that Brevin Jordan's even on the team next year if we don't see some immediate significant improvement, because you got to think they're going to try to upgrade this tight end position. And right now, Jordan Akins is the superior player. And if you can bring Jordan Akins back and he's already better than Brevin Jordan, who's to say you can't bring in some other guys that are going to be better than Brevin Jordan to where maybe he's not on the team next year? There's potential there. I thought that on Sunday there was like a prime 2-play stretch that basically summarized what Brevin Jordan has been with the Texans. He caught the pass out of bounds in the end zone. It didn't count. And then on the next play, he kind of appeared to whiff on a block in the backfield. There's potential. That catch, I mean, it takes a certain amount of athletic ability to even make the catch that he made, whether it counted or not. You don't necessarily reap the benefits, though, because it doesn't count. And he has some clear flaws and holes in his game, blocking, etc., to where those are what we see more than the actual flashes and the tangible proof. So this is a big final stretch for Brevin Jordan. I don't know that there's too many Texans that have more pressure on him than Brevin Jordan up to this point. But it would be nice to see him do what Nico Collins has done and maybe improve a little bit and show some sort of tangible proof. Brevin Jordan. Defense, Roy Lopez, man, that penalty that he had, and Kenyon Green had the penalty too. It was an unforgivable penalty, but I think Kenyon's going to be fine. He's going to be a starting caliber player on this team and in this league for a while. I think these are just rookie mistakes. He's learning how to be a pro, being a little bit out of shape, staying healthy, taking care of the body, all that type of stuff. Kenyon Green's going to be fine. Roy Lopez is a rotational guy. I like him. You need guys like Roy Lopez. But Roy Lopez is a rotational guy. He's not a guy that should be starting. And it all goes back to what I said about the front seven. He's just not, like, on this team, he's a starter, but he's not a starter anywhere else. So that's that. The linebackers, We saw the debut of our guy Christian Harris. He had one tackle, some welcome to the NFL moments. I think Christian Harris is going to be fine, but he's going to go through some growing pains. I'm not worried about Christian Harris. Christian Kirksey looks lost half the time. He's either making tackles downfield and flexing, or he's lost. And at some point, what the journeyman guys are. Kamu Grugier-Hill, he's got his weaknesses. The linebackers are rough, but I expect some improvement from Christian Harris. Dameon Pierce, just not a lot of help. He had the 20 rushes for 92 yards, but just really not a lot of help with him. You can get the comments in on the side. Be sure to like and subscribe as well. Who should the Texans draft to help out the D-line so I can watch him Saturday? Will Anderson out of Alabama, Jalen Carter out of Georgia, and there's a few other guys. We need a better O-line. Pierce can't keep running against the wall. I really don't think the O-line's been terrible. Haven't been great. Haven't been terrible. I'm not disagreeing that there could be some improvements, but I wouldn't list offensive line as like a significant need, like in the draft. If you're selecting today, would I say that offensive line is near the top? No, not really. Big Lock, what up? Benjamin Smith, I'd pick Will Anderson as it stands now. A wrecking ball inside. The front seven is horrendous. Texans really need serviceable linebackers in the worst. They need linebackers like crazy. And they need Harris and Waller to show that they're at least needs. I 100% agree with you. Did Tyler Johnson play? Well, I didn't really see him. Texans need 2 outside linebackers, 2 DNs, a running back 2, and a wide receiver 1. I'm going to cross off running back 2. I'm going to say running back 1B/1A, much like Michael Carter and Breece Hall with the Jets. I think they need a 1A, 1B. If they draft a running back better than Dameon Pierce, which they could in the second round, especially with these running backs, I think they need a 1B, a wide receiver 1. Yeah, Cooks hasn't been very good, and an inside linebacker. That's a big list. Luckily, they got 4 number 1s. Does Will Anderson and Jalen Carter help our run defense? Yes, they help everything. Davis Mills might be a franchise quarterback. I think he's going to be similar like Derek Carr or Matt Ryan when he fully develops. Okay. Think about what you just said, and we'll get to the ghost of Matt Ryan, but just think about what you just said. You just said you think Davis Mills is going to be as good as Matt Ryan? You realize Matt Ryan won an MVP and was pretty effing good in Atlanta. He went to a Super Bowl and was an MVP. You sure about that? Derek Carr is also very underrated. So you think Davis Mills can be Derek Carr and Matt Ryan? Okay. If so, then damn sure don't take a quarterback. Like if the Texans think that Davis Mills can turn into Derek Carr and Matt Ryan, don't take a quarterback. I don't believe that. I just think he can be a stopgap guy and hold it down. But Matt Ryan, Derek Carr, man, put Nick Caserio in the Ring of Honor if Davis Mills turns into that. Mills looked decent. I think Juan was trying to say yes. Yeah, he looked good. Great for him, but he looked good. Mills won't be a Josh Allen or probably Mahomes caliber, but he can be good. Okay, I can get down with that. Man, I get excited when I see Mills move out of the pocket. It's like, wow, this guy is not a statue. Yeah, the thing about Davis Mills, and I talked about this in my obs that you can read at sportsradio610.com. The thing about Davis Mills, and it's weird because we got so used to watching Deshaun, you know. The thing about Davis Mills is that there's a fine line between holding on to the ball too long and not holding on to the ball enough in the NFL. You know what I mean? Like Deshaun Watson, at times, he held on to the ball too long, and a lot of times it cost the Texans offense. But other times he held onto it probably too long, and he made plays that no other quarterback can make. So you just got to kind of live with it. Davis Mills is getting rid of the ball really, really, really quick. Sometimes too quick. He's not letting plays develop. I thought the touchdown pass to Chris Moore was a prime example of Davis Mills holding on to the football for the perfect amount of time. And I think that's just it's from one extreme to another, where you have a guy who doesn't hold on to the ball long enough and a guy who held on to it for too long that we got used to watching for nearly a half decade. So if Davis has got to balance that out, if he wants to even have a chance to be, a really, really good backup, even, he's going to have to figure that out. And the good thing is, and again, maybe I'm grading on a curve, and I understand any Davis Mills frustration. Hell, I saw it all day today on the text line. I read it all day on social media. But the thing about Davis Mills is that he's being graded on a curve by me. I'm grading Davis Mills on a curve. Sue me. That's where I'm at. Locke, what do you think of getting a mid-tier game manager and doing best skill players first? I'm not opposed to it. And I think maybe Davis Mills can do that. Maybe bring in someone to compete with him. I'm not opposed to it. Texans are a dumpster fire. I disagree. I think they were a dumpster fire 2 years ago. I think you could even maybe say they were a dumpster fire last year. But the talent, the rookies, the picks that Caserio has made, although some of them might be misplaced on the depth chart. I don't think Roy Lopez starts on most teams. I don't think they're a dumpster fire. I think they're a team that's clearly rebuilding. They're clearly trying to get things headed in the right direction. And I think they're about where the Jets were 1 or 2 years ago, year or two ago. And that's just where they are. That was the mess they inherited. But they do have a lot of draft equity. Right now, they'd have 2 of the top 5 picks in the draft. And you sprinkle in some significant impact players, top 5 caliber type of guys here, and then you have 2 ones next year. Yeah, that's not a dumpster fire to me. That might be a dumpster fire to you. I don't think the Texans are a dumpster fire by any stretch of the imagination. Now, does it suck for you that you have to watch it on Sunday? Yeah, it sucks. Is it fun to lose? No. But dumpster fire? Nah, I disagree with that. I see some light at the end of the tunnel. The right decisions are going to have to be made, but nah, we got different definitions of dumpster fire, my friend. Appreciate you for weighing in. Be sure to weigh in on the comments as well. What was the biggest takeaway from the game? Mills actually handled the pressure well. He was torching the Raiders blitz for most of the game. Yeah, I thought so too. Ran out of steam. Like that interception that he threw, they were down 14. Jacobs just scored his 3 touchdowns. He's looking like Bo Jackson. That thing was done. So I'm not too discouraged about that. Made a 2 TD throw while getting hit, slid away from pressure, even flip pass to DP. That's a good sign. Yeah. If this is the beginning of the end of the season for Davis Mills, then hell, maybe he makes it interesting for the coaches no matter what. But if this is going to be built on, then we'll see. It's not going to be for lack of effort. I don't think it's a coincidence that Davis Mills. Now the Raiders are not great, but I think they're better than their record was. And maybe this is the start of something for Davis Mills. Gen Z, Dare for RB2, 1 carry for 8 yards. Rex had 2 for 8. It would be nice to maybe see him do his thing. Braden, Locke, your guy Sam getting the start for Indy now for the rest of the year. Yeah, we'll get into that. The Colts made a move. I have a hypothetical too that I'll end things with in a sec. I feel like you still have to draft a QB. This is from Brady. That high pick right. We know what happens when you're stuck in mediocre mid-teens draft range every year. Yeah, but you have 2 ones. And yeah, Indianapolis is the prime example of being mediocre and having to hold on to a quarterback, but you have 2 ones. So I don't know that you have to draft a quarterback, because if you don't get the right guy, like if they don't love the guy that they get, what kind of situation are you really putting him in? You can build the team around him first. Maybe it's kind of a chess thing where they look ahead. They like Caleb Williams, or maybe they like Quinn Ewers if he doesn't play like he effing did on Saturday against Oklahoma State. But I don't know that you have to, especially if he's not. Sometimes it's not there. Like if NFL executives could hand in the draft card and just write down what they want on the draft card, hey, franchise quarterback, it'd be done every year. Sometimes it's not there. Sometimes the third quarterback ends up being the best. see Josh Allen, see Patrick Mahomes. So, no, I don't think it's that simple. Houston needs another Hopkins. Is there anything close? Yeah, Smith and Jigba out of Ohio State is a very good receiver. Probably the best one that they had last year and one of the best in the country. So if that Cleveland pick, let's say it's in the top 8, you might have a chance at Smith and Jigba, and he is incredible. He's actually from Rockwall, somehow got out of the state. But Smith and Jigba is who you need to look at. I hate seeing Stingley in zone. Send Petrie on some blitz. We got 2 corners you can play, man. Yeah, I get it, but if he doesn't get there, you already have a hard time pressuring the quarterback. So it's a lot harder to blitz Petrie and do all the stuff you want him to when they can't pressure the quarterback at all. It makes it a lot easier to pick up that blitz. But I feel you. Texans need to draft defense, front 723, get young, get more athletic, get faster. Yes, I'm sure that's part of the plan. Facebook user Lovie Smith doesn't have the defensive starters in the front 7 and the back end. See, front 7. You guys are getting this. Defense is at a severe disadvantage in the assignments and game day scheme. Agree with you. Dameon Pierce needs to be used coming out of the backfield in the passing game more. This forces the opposing team's defense to have to play Pierce and free up Texans tight ends. I agree, but man, how much do we have to ask this guy to do? It would be nice if he could get a breather every once in a while. You know, I mean, he's getting 20 carries a game. He only had 15 twice. And I keep hammering this home. He had 15 twice in 4 years. I mean, how much do we want Dameon Pierce to do? He's got to be exhausted right now. It would be nice if you had some other guys that could do some stuff as well. Facebook user, will the Astros use the same pitching game order for the ALCS? Not sure, but I'm actually about to record, and this is going to come out tonight, a World Series preview with Adam Spillane. So I will ask that question for you with baseball. I'm back at it. Just got back from Vegas. We're going to get back on this grind for sure. So I'll ask you that. I appreciate you for asking that. And be sure to check out the next video that comes out tonight with Baseball Spo. Benjamin Smith, Matt Ryan was mainly 90s QB rating QB. He had 2 outlier years, which he won the MVP 1 year. Same thing with Carr. Yes, I think he can become that. Okay. All right. Going back to the Davis Mills thing. All right. You think he can have an outlier year where he's MVP of the league, like Matt Ryan? Okay. All right. I hope you're right. I won't hold my breath on it though. And you just mentioned people talking about Matt Ryan. Bench for Sam Ehlinger. This is interesting. So Indianapolis is already admitting this early on that they made a mistake with Matt Ryan, and they are benching him for Sam Ehlinger. Let's just throw a hypothetical out there. Let's say that the Texans' second draft pick with Cleveland is in the 7-8 range, or maybe even 5. And their own personal pick is in the top 3. If the Texans take whoever they want in the top 3, whether it's a quarterback or whether it's a D lineman, they're essentially telling you what they think about the quarterbacks in this draft, right? Because if they thought they were a franchise-changing quarterback, they wouldn't pass on him. And if they take a quarterback instead of the next one, that tells you that they obviously don't think the next one is as good as the one that they got. So with that said, if the Indianapolis Colts are sitting there desperate as hell, wanting to get a quarterback, and they are going to be desperate as hell wanting to get a quarterback, I love Sam, but I find it hard to believe that Sam is going to be their quarterback of the future. I'm not even going to say I could be wrong. I find that hard to believe. I would love it because I love Sam. I love the young man, and I like what he stands for, and I like his heart, but I would not bet on that. So if Indianapolis is sitting there and they're willing to give up a couple of first-round picks for one of your picks, because that's what it's going to take to trade up to that range when they're in like the mediocre 18, 20 range or whatever they're going to be at, 15, why not trade with Indianapolis? You clearly, like if you trust your evaluation, you clearly don't believe that this guy, whoever they're going to pick at quarterback, you don't believe he's like some sort of franchise-altering quarterback, or you would have taken him, right? So why not trade with Indianapolis? Get some more first-round picks. Get another opportunity to build some more talent. Hell, maybe get a second from them. Maybe get a couple ones and a second from Indianapolis. Because it'd be one thing if you traded your first and you liked one of these quarterbacks, but if you're already there and you've already made it clear that you don't think this guy's a game changer, why not send him to the division? Makes sense. Something to think about. We got a lot to think about. Up next for the Texans, Tennessee, Philadelphia, and the Giants. That's a tough one right there. Tennessee getting hot again. They've won 4 straight after starting out 0-3 or 0-2, I should say. Philadelphia, best team in the league right now, record-wise, and the Giants have only lost 1 game. So the wins don't seem to be there. Carolina did you a lot of favors. The Lions, as I said, their schedule, they got Chicago twice and they got Carolina. So things are looking up for all you tankers. And I know there are a lot of tankers out there that want the Texans to do that. We got a lot to chew up. Was it really that big of a deal yesterday that they lost? I don't think so. Mills looking good and losing is a good thing. I'll finish up with the comments and then I'm going to get out of here. And I appreciate you guys once again for riding with me on Reaction Monday. Benjamin says, I don't think Mills has outlier Ryan upside, just average career Ryan upside. Okay. Will the Colts look to take? I just don't think we can. I just don't like dismissing an MVP year. I mean, like, what? And even then, Matt Ryan was a solid quarterback. Like the idea of, oh yeah, well, he had that one good year. Yeah, he was MVP, and they went to the Super Bowl and should have won the Super Bowl. All right, like let's not like, oh well, let's just throw that to the side. Okay, that's fair. Will the Colts look to tank after benching Matt Ryan? Texans will have to compete with the Colts to secure a top 5 pick. Colts have already won 3 games. They're not the Colts are still going to win some games. They're not going to lose out. Is Clayton Tune draft able for what? What do you want him to do? Have you heard any additional rumblings on Brandon Cooks being available for trade? Have not. Watch offensive coordinators currently in college football being identified as possible interviewers for NFL coaching job. Which hot new offensive coordinator looking to get in the NFL coaching gig? I don't know, man. I haven't even really focused on coaches. Isn't Clayton Tune a 5th-year senior? Yeah. What do you want Clayton Tune to do? Man, play quarterback? Make Davis Mills look like Joe Montana. Davis Mills will be Matt Ryan, MVP Matt Ryan compared to Clayton Tune. God bless him. He's got some heart, but man, we're sitting here talking about top 5 picks and Bryce Youngs and CJ Strouds and Will Levis and Caleb Williams and maybe Quinn Ewers, and you're bringing him up. Time for me to dip on that. Subscribe to the channel at Landry Locker on Twitter, at Landry Locker on Instagram, 610 Loopholes Facebook page. A lot of fun interaction there. We'll get it going. Sometimes when you lose, you win. Sometimes when you win, you lose. Shout out to Rosie Perez and White Men Can't Jump. 2 picks in the top 5. Sign me up for every bit of that. Quarterback or D-line / front 7. That's the question. Have a happy Reaction Monday. I love you all. 10 to 2 Monday through Friday, Sports Radio 610, the Odyssey app.